stream. This is the latest installment in our latest live streams, our monthly live streams that we do. And we have a very, very exciting topic this month. And as everyone knows, it's all about women at this current stage. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about women in property. We have a very, very exciting guest that's going to be joining us a little bit later, the fantastic Cilna Steyn. And we're going to be including an interview with her. And we're very, very excited about that. And yeah, ladies, this show is all about you today. It's all about celebrating women in property. And yeah, we can't wait to get started. Shane, how are you feeling about that? I'm super excited. How do you feel?
No, I'm super excited, and it's always nice to, talk about everyone else and get everyone else involved, and contribute to all different genders and stuff. And we're really excited to share a little bit of information of what we've got in store.
Yeah, no, 100%, Shane. So how about I think a good place to start would be to actually discuss a little bit about the history of women and women empowerment, and how Women's Day and Women's Month in particular actually came about. Shane, give us a brief intro. How did this month come to celebrate women?
Sure, yeah. So August is a really special month for all the women out there. And on August, the 9th of August, 1956, a huge group of women all came together and staged a massive march on the Union buildings in Pretoria to protest against the proposed amendments to the Urban Areas Act. And this is just to show that, women have the power, and totally together they can make huge differences. And I think everyone needs to believe that as well. And there's equal rights for everyone out there.
Oh no, brilliant. I mean, the fact that women of all different races and different backgrounds are all able to come together and to actually end up having 20,000 women march upon the Union buildings is quite a fantastic achievement. And organizing that was a big feat in its own right. So yeah, massive. I mean, it was massive for sure. And I think this is really symbolic of women's strength, and how women are able to pull together even during the toughest of times, and really fight for what's right. And what we saw on that day was a lot of the African women who were coming in their traditional dress, not your conventional Western type clothing that was expected to be worn of them. They came as they are, and how they felt comfortable to be. And I think that shows a lot of strength, in the sense that one of the biggest strengths you can have is feeling comfortable in your own skin, and celebrate who you are and where you come from. And I think that was really one of the big symbols of that day, was how the African women came dressed in all their beautiful traditional colors. And we also saw the same thing with the Indian women who came in their saris, again very colorful, really celebrating their background and where they came from, and again showing that strength that I mentioned, that women are all really about empowerment and empowering themselves. And even though some of them were working that day, looking after the employers' children, they brought their children with them. They put them on their backs, and they said, what, nothing is more important right now than fighting for our rights. And I think it's a really motivating and inspiring to hear about how they sacrificed so much to show that they deserved more in the world, and in South Africa in particular. Shane, how would you think they would have felt on that day? Do you think if you had to put yourself in one of those ladies' shoes, obviously impossible, of course, but how do you think those women felt on that day?
Yeah, so I definitely say full of emotion, and at the same time there's a lot of negativity around the whole thing. But the biggest thing from my perspective is the sense of pride. All of these women coming together to follow like a common cause, to out what was ever there in front of them, to go over all those hurdles that were in front of them, no matter, you know, what the rest of the world told them, no matter what the government told them, no matter what men or anyone else told them. They knew exactly what they needed to do. And the fact that everyone could come together without cell phones back then in such a large group of people is amazing. And, you know, I could only imagine how emotional they must have been and how proud they were of themselves.
Exactly. And I think if we have to move on next, you know, we can actually give a, you know, a breakdown and brush up the history of what actually happened today. Two buildings, and they, you know, left the door. I mean, he went there and he didn't end up bothering at looking at them. What they did was they all stood in silence about half an hour that day, just to in protest, just to show how strong they were, that they didn't actually need words to be spoken in order to be heard. And for me, that is just so powerful, that they felt comfortable themselves and who they were, that they could merely just stand there in silence and be able to express so much without even saying a single word. And I think that for me is the most powerful, you know, moment in this whole protest that happened. And I think, you know, as a male, you know, I have nothing but that respect, you know, for these women, for sacrificing for that. Sorry, I lost signal there. I do apologize. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I'm also having technical difficulties on my side as well.
Okay, we are still live, correct?
As far as I'm aware, correct.
Great stuff. Apologies for that. Technical issues. We're all used to that. I don't know if it was maybe Wi-Fi, my Wi-Fi or Shane's or both of us, so we do apologize. Right, so just to carry on and move on to the next segment, we thought it would be a great idea to celebrate different women within the property sector. So as you know, as Kuro Property Group, we are focused predominantly on the property sector, and we wanted to zoom in and have a look at successful women in property to help inspire those women that are still building themselves up in terms of their property careers and all of that. And the first lady that we'd like to discuss is Barbara Corcoran. Shane, tell us a little bit about Barbara and how she's empowered women all over the world.
Yes, I think honestly a lot of people don't quite understand who in the end started Shark Tank, but Barbara here, she was a lady and the founder of it, and she really, really inspired a lot of people, and I think she's made a huge change to so many people's lives and actually given them an opportunity to present, you know, their really, really good business deals. And it's inspiring to know that, you know, someone who essentially came from nothing, you know, losing 20 jobs before you're 23, I mean, that's a lot of people and a lot of different jobs that you've been through, but yet she came through, and you know what, now she's one of the largest and biggest businesswomen in the world. So it's amazing to see that from a woman, and I don't think a lot of people actually knew the whole story.
Yeah, I think for me it's very fascinating to know that she only began with $1,000. She was a waitress in a restaurant. She'd been fired from like 20 different jobs,
Crazy.
you know, before she got, and she got started with literally no experience. You know, she went on her gut feel, and learning the ropes as she went. And I think that really, gives a strong message to women out there that you don't always have to have it all figured out to make it in a world that really is, dominated by their male counterparts. Property is very male dominated and still is to this day. But Barbara showed that you didn't have to be a male to make it there. And a lot of the time she showed up a lot of her male counterparts, including the likes of Donald Trump, on various transactions that she did. I think for me, she's definitely one of the most inspiring ladies out there. Hey, Shane?
Yeah, hugely. And yeah, I think the next most inspirational woman out here, and especially in South Africa in terms of property, is this lady right here. And I think, Matt, you go ahead and you explain exactly what your thoughts are of Pam Golding, because I think she's been a huge impact in this field, hey?
Yeah, I think it is important to not just talk about women around the world that have influenced property, but also to look closer to home and see how such as Pam Golding have influenced property from a South African perspective. And Pam, much like Barbara, started off with very little. She had a young family. They just bought a house, and through that whole experience that she had, she kind of thought to herself, well, there's an opportunity here. The South African property space is not very professional. There's a lot of opportunity to turn it around and make it a more, professional service, and, really take the real estate sector by storm. And that's what she managed to do. So she basically started the real estate franchise from nothing. And now they're one of the most prominent real estate agencies in South Africa. And unfortunately, she did pass away a few years ago. But I think, the biggest thing that women in particular can take away from Pam Golding is the legacy that she's left, on the South African property market. And it just shows once again that you don't have to have it all figured out when you begin with property. Sometimes you can just go on a hunch and give it your best shot, and you never know where you may end up. You may end up like the great late Pam Golding, hey?
No, I definitely think so. And a lot of it comes down to self-belief, eh? I don't know if you agree, but it's a massive thing that comes to part. And, women need to believe in themselves and trust what their views are and their goals and their cause needs to live on. And I think Pam really showed it, and she established a huge, massive company. And, I hope that her legacy lives on and that same cause rings through to the next CEO and the following, eh?
Most definitely.
And then I think taking on to the next is, I think we need to introduce Cilna Steyn here. Hey, Matt. And I think you can take it away. And I know you and Cilna get along very, very well. You guys are also quite close. So introduce her, Matt.
Yeah, so, I'd like to, introduce Cilna. She is our special guest today, and we're very honored to have her here. Just before we bring her onto the live stream, I just want to tell people a little bit about Cilna. Obviously not taking up too much time because she's going to talk a lot about herself and her journey in the property industry. But Cilna is essentially one of the leading attorneys within the property industry. She's an expert on landlord and tenant disputes, and she specializes in evictions, which is sometimes a thing that's not talked about a lot in property. Often we focus on the upside of property and how property can build wealth, and property can create financial freedom, but very seldom do we actually talk about the bad side of property, like things like evictions and stuff like that. So I'm very, very excited to to interview Cilna and get her take on these sorts of things. But Cilna, she's been practicing as an attorney since 2007. She's written a book on rental and evictions. She's appeared on television and radio as well. And she's really inspired a lot of women in the property space, not just in the property space, but just from business as a whole. She's also started her own her own firm. She's also received awards for her business acumen. So I think that we've got a really special guest that's going to be chatting to us today. Yeah, Shane, I know that between the two of us, you were the first to meet with Cilna. How was she as a person? Did you find her as someone who was unique and someone to look up to in the property space?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think the first time I met her, you can hear her laugh across the room, and it's just amazing to have someone who's got such a bubbly personality. And you would think, someone in the space that she's in is going to be, quite hard to talk to and get along with. But she's an exceptional woman, and she's done exceptionally well for herself. And I think she's guided so many people into the right space, and she's always been there to help out no matter what, always offer a guiding hand, easy to talk to, and always willing to give advice. And I think that's a big thing in this industry is, being able to go out there and help out as many people as possible. And definitely, her passion is there and she's willing to help out, and she really wants to change this industry and not only help out the landlord, but also really, really help out the tenant and get that equal ground and, allow people to grow and empower themselves and own property, and especially push the limits that they do normally feel they have.
No, 100%, Shane. I fully agree with you. So I think without further ado, let's get Cilna onto the live stream, and we can introduce her and tell her a little bit more, ask her a little bit more about all interesting things we're going to chat about tonight. Cilna, how are you doing?
I'm so good. Well, guys, after that introduction, I am so flattered. I don't know if I can be anything other than amazingly good tonight. Thank you.
No, it's only our pleasure. I think we were very modest in our description of you, and I think just looking now on screen at your career highlights, I mean, there's plenty of things that we didn't mention there. That you've accomplished in your career. So please don't take the modest route. We're very privileged to have you on the stream here with us tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. So tell us, how have things been going during the, obviously the lockdown period? I assume you're very busy. How have things been?
Yes, so I think the past 6 months was probably not just the toughest 6 months I've ever experienced, but also the greatest 6 months I've ever experienced. It was all good and well. I think, I mean, if you look at my career, I started a law firm at 24. By the time you get to, well, I'll give my age away. By the time you get to 36, you sort of believe that you've seen almost everything. You're sort of ready. You've been around the block quite a few times. If you can make a business survive for 10 years, there's like this little bit of, I don't want to say arrogance, but there's like this assumption that things will always be okay and you will always be able to keep control of your business and your environment and your situation. And then, whoo, thanks COVID. What a surprise. What an absolute surprise. I remember the afternoon of the 26th of March, I locked my office, and I actually, before I locked my office, I sat in my chill room. This is the room we have in the office where we just drink coffee. We have to have a chat. And I sat in my chill room and I was crying because I didn't know if I'm going to be able to open my firm again. I didn't know if my business would survive this or not, because the courts were closed. Sure. Everything was closed. And I was worried about my team. I was worried that somebody would get sick. So it was horrific. But at the same time, suddenly in that, the first week, I'll be honest, the first week I was extremely sick. I was so stressed. I actually got sick, and I don't stress easily. I'm not a stressy person. I actually have good control over my stress levels. But I was sick for a week. And when I came out of that, I was like, okay, cool. Now what are we going to do? How am I going to help? How am I going to take this and put all this energy and all this fear I have into something good? And I just started picking up wherever I could. And I immediately started working with TPN on drafting the rent recovery pack, the rent deferment agreement, deposit utilization agreement, which in the end actually turned out to be amazing. It was downloaded, the last time I checked, was downloaded over 15,000 times.
Wow.
So many landlords, so many tenants used that. And I started doing webinars. Like, I am so webinared by now. You have no idea. I think I've done more webinars in the past 6 months than I thought I would ever do in my life. And in my personal life as well, it gave me time to think about what's really important, what are we doing, why are we here. It's so easy to get caught up in life that you forget to live. And so it was horrible and amazing at the same time, and I'm glad it happened. I know for a fact I wouldn't have been the same person I am today if it wasn't for the past 6 months. But you know, that's usually how it goes. But the past 6 was a bit of a extreme push in the right direction. I do believe that.
Serious wake up call, eh?
Yes, true story.
Yeah, I think I think it's great that you've spoken about how emotional it was for you and how you found yourself at a real low. Where you found yourself in tears and you were worried about the future and what was going to happen to your firm, and you then explained how you used that fear to actually power through it and power forward, and you actually came out on the other end stronger than ever. And I think that a lot of women can take inspiration in that. And even when you are feeling at your lowest, like you were, there's a lot of action that you can take to empower yourself to come through even stronger. Hey.
Yes, definitely. And I think, especially touching on, since we're having the conversation about women in property, and you touched on emotion, I think it was very interesting when you started and you spoke about the ladies arranging this march without cell phones. I thought it was something pretty cool you mentioned there. And I thought the power that we have as women is we have a natural way of collaborating. We are relatively, well, trust me, there are women out there that's not that strong on collaboration. That happens. So I don't want to be sexist and I don't want to generalize, but in a very big way, it comes a bit more natural. So for practical purpose, SSLR, I don't know if you guys know this, but SSLR for practical purposes are pretty much an all-girl team. We only have one attorney that's male, and that is our financial director, Nicholas Brody. And for the rest of us, we're an all-girl team. And I think it's something pretty unique, especially on what we do. I mean, we do evictions that you don't hear eviction attorney and you think, oh wow, that's a girly job. It's not a girly job. It's really not. But we're an all-girls team because we work together and we naturally collaborate. And when we went into lockdown and into the COVID thing, guys, it was amazing. There were such amazing special moments, like the team pulled together and we went out and bought groceries for families that stopped receiving an income and stuff like that, which is an easy thing. So I understand how the ladies way back when got it organized to have everybody at the union buildings without cell phones, because that is how we roll. We can arrange a party without a cell phone. That's how amazing we are.
And I think that can only be celebrated. I think women have unique qualities that only they can bring to the table. So I think the fact that you've spoken about in the modern world about how evictions is quite a an ugly side of property, and here you are, an all-girls team practically taking all that on, I think is just fantastic. And again, touching on the history and how 20,000 women were able to come together for a big cause is just fascinating. Shane, I know that you've been dying to ask Cilna some questions.
Yes.
What have you got up your sleeve, Shane?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Cilna, again. So I just wanted to kick it off and say, Yeah, so looking back at your early years, so entering the field of property law, what would you say was the biggest hurdle, and then especially facing you as a woman?
Well, Shane, the truth is, I'm going to struggle to answer the last part of the question. So I'm going to start there and then I'll come back. The truth is, I am the youngest of 4 sisters. So in my life, I've never never thought of myself as different because I'm a woman. I come
Yeah,
from a family of 5 women and my dad. And my dad is the most amazing person in the world. It's just the way it is.
awesome.
He's always told all 4 of us, and my dad's a farmer, so a farmer in the 70s and 80s to have 4 girls. I mean, all his neighbors were like, "Ah, yellow shame, man. I'm so sorry. It's the
Zero
worst
luck.
thing that can happen to a guy." I mean, already, even if you're not a farmer, it's a bit of a tough one to have 4 daughters. But he raised us in spite of this whole thing of the neighbors and the friends, and everybody's like, "But Shame, who's going to take over the farm?" He always told all 4 of us that we can be whatever we want to be, and we are the best basically in the world. Like, there's just nobody that compares to my dad's daughters. It's as simple as that. So if that's what you've been hearing your entire life, it's very difficult to see yourself as anything other than absolutely freaking fabulous because that's what you've been told. So I've never seen myself on the back foot because I am a woman. And truth be told, I think that's sort of my message to women, especially during Women's Month. I've done quite a few Women's Month interviews, and my message every time is, if you believe that you are playing with a handicap, even if you are not playing with a handicap, you are playing with a handicap, but a handicap that you've placed there for yourself. Now, I'm not denying, ladies, before you stone me, I'm not denying that women has gone through very difficult times, and women has had to get together and really get ourselves to a position where we are seen on equal footing. The truth is still, I mean, still, we know this, it's a fact that a lot of women still don't get paid what their male counterparts get paid. That's not the truth for every woman. And that's, I think that's the reality. The reality we should see as women is, yes, cool, but we are where we are now. What do we do with the power we have? Because the truth is, we have different skills. Men and women are different. It's the way it is. I've never been a feminist, probably because I was never raised in an environment where feminism would have made sense. I mean, 5 chicks teaming up against my dad, the poor guy. It's just not, you know. So I've never been exposed to a situation where feminism would be required. So when I say things like I have an all-girls team, I think people think automatically, oh wow, feminist of the week, eviction lawyer with an all-girls team, yay. And the actual truth is, I'm not a fan of any ism, not feminism, obviously not racism, not sexism. I'm not a fan of any ism, because the truth is I'm a very big fan of humanity and Ubuntu, and we are all people. And I think it's a very important thing to start my answer by saying, I've never noticed in the property industry that I'm on the back foot in any way or any extra challenges because I am a woman. Actually, quite to the contrary. So Shane, the answer to that is my initial, yes, the things that I had to deal with, my biggest hurdles was basically just finding out who I am, what is my strengths, and being comfortable with who I am and what I have. I already told you I have 3 sisters, and my sisters are like by forever more clever than I am. The oldest 2 are both busy with their PhDs. The other one is like a pork genetics specialist that makes everybody cry. She's basically responsible for the bacon, for the fat on our bacon. and the level of fat. So I have these incredibly clever sisters, and I always thought like I'm the dumb one. And I had to find, true story, I always had to find a way of really understanding that I have a unique, special skill set. And it took me a good 10 years to get to a point where I became comfortable with myself. And the moment that happens, you suddenly drop your ego. And once you can let your ego down, you can be you. And only when you are you can you live your purpose. And since I've been doing that, I'm lucky to say I think it's been about 2 years or so that I've really been comfortable in my own skin, and it took that long. So it's not really early years, Shane, to answer the question. But the biggest hurdle in my life isn't because I'm a woman. The biggest hurdle in my career so far was my own ego and my own inability to believe in myself. And the moment I started realizing, oh my goodness, I can actually make a major impact and I can change people's lives without changing who I am by just being who I am. Suddenly life is easy, and it's not just easy, it's absolutely magnificent to live a life that you were meant to live.
Yeah.
100%. I think you've summed that up really well, Cilna. And I think that you know, the fact that you've spoken about, yes, there's external hardships that you'll face as a woman, or wherever you come from, and whoever you are, you'll always face external hardships. But I think you've made a good point that at the end of the day, the biggest hurdle is you can either be your biggest burden, or you can be your own biggest treasure. If you get in your own way, no matter where you come from, if you're going to let that stop you, and you're not going to have your own belief in yourself, then you're not going to get anywhere. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've taken away from what you said, is that if you just believe in yourself, regardless of where you come from, you're going to make a big impact on the world. Definitely. Cool. Yeah. So just everyone that's joined us halfway, we're chatting to the amazing Cilna Steyn, and we are asking her questions pertaining to women in property and her own experiences as a woman in the property field. So please feel free to ask questions. We'll have a Q&A session with her at the end of the interview. Cilna, I think for me, what I would like to know is, would you say that the property law industry in particular is well represented by women now, or is there more room for women to make their mark out?
Matt, well, the property law industry in itself is so tiny. I think we all know each other, to be quite frank. So the property law space is still very male dominant. I don't know if you guys maybe came across the Property Law Alliance between, so we are 3 eviction specialist law firms, SSLR, Bruno Simao, and then Vermaak and Partners. And Bruno Simao and Greg Vermaak, obviously male. And the interesting thing is there's obviously a lot of other eviction specialists. It's not just the 3 firms, but we are definitely 3 of the bigger and more well-known firms in this part of the game. And the rest of the eviction people and property law field is definitely more male dominant still, especially if you look at evictions. However, then thank you SSLR, we bring in our girls team, and suddenly we dilute that a little bit. But the property law field in general, if we bring in conveyancing as well, a lot, if not the majority of conveyances specifically are female. It's a little fun fact about the law. From about, I think 2018, then sue me if I'm wrong with my numbers here, but I think from about 2018, we have more female attorneys getting admitted than male attorneys. So as much as the law was a male dominant thing, at this stage, the truth is we are more ladies in law than men on admission. Problem is, ladies don't stay in law. So what happens a lot of the time is ladies will either stop practicing in total for whatever reason, whether they stay-at-home moms or they change careers, entrepreneurs. That happens quite often, because the truth about law is it's one of the most versatile degrees you can have. It's a very handy qualification, because with law, you can basically go into anything. So for myself, I don't practice as much as you would think. I manage SSLR, and I just cheer the amazing SSLR ladies on as they practice and they do their evictions. And I will now and again pick up the phone and say, sure, ladies, well done. How can I help? Where's the problem? We talk often, but they do their job. I just cheer them on. So I'm actually just a glorified cheerleader for my amazing team. But other than that, not much. But a lot of women leave law, and the perception is they are stay-at-home moms now. But that's not the truth. A lot of attorneys leave practice to be entrepreneurs, to start their own businesses, to do things like that. So that is still the law in itself is definitely more. There's a lot more female representation. Property law in general, definitely more female than male. If you take conveyances and conveyancing into consideration, and then on eviction side, I must say it was a very male-dominant thing. But the truth is, I haven't in all my years had any experience where I felt somebody does not take my advice or does not trust my opinion because I'm a woman. If somebody says, oh, Cilna Steyn said this, but let's check what Bruno Smile says. I don't think they do that because I'm a woman. I think they do that because sometimes attorneys differ in opinion, and you want to get the best answer. But maybe I'm just blind to that. But I don't think so. I think there would always be more room for women to make their mark. But the same goes for men. I think evictions and the property industry needs stronger property lawyers. There's a bunch of us that's strong property lawyers, but we're a handful, to be quite honest. And I think that's what we need. I think we need competition, true competition. But unfortunately, we're limited by the rules of the Law Society, well, the Legal Practice Council. So our competition is sort of watered down a little. So with service delivery and things like that, I would like to see competition like that. That's why I have friends like the guys in the Property Law Alliance. They're my direct competition, and we make each other stronger, because if we talk every week and we know exactly, I know somebody can leave SSLR if they're not comfortable with the service we're giving, and they're going to get amazing service at another firm. So I need to make sure our service is top notch. So I do believe there is more scope for strong property lawyers in the property industry. And of those, it can definitely be a bunch of ladies as well, because we have a natural feel for things like evictions, because it's a system-driven thing. And you need to have your ear on the respondent constantly to see if there's a gap to negotiate and settle the matter. And for some reason, that's ladies have as a natural sense for that. Not everybody, but a lot more than the guys, with all respect to the boys there.
No, but I think it's amazing that you're taking on what Simon Sinek calls worthy rivals, and you're using that as an ability to grow and, you know, compete against other people, and even taking on men, what a lot of people would say wouldn't be the right thing to do, because everyone's got these views. But it's amazing to see what you are doing still in the whole entire space. And it's awesome to hear that the women are, you know, so prominent in the property space, especially in conveyancing and stuff. And yeah, I definitely take my hat off to you for challenging the status quo and pushing it.
Thank you, Shane. I appreciate that.
And then, as someone who often sees the ugly side of property investments, such as evictions, how do you feel female landlords react and manage these types of situations in relation to the male counterparts? Is it quite a challenge, or what's your view?
Oh, wow. Shane. Okay. Now, this is an interesting one because there is a definite difference. There is a very big difference between female landlords and male landlords. And I do believe I could very well not be the most popular person after all of this, but there are a few more female landlords that tend to get a bit more emotional. I don't want to use the word emotional. It's such a sexist thing to say, but I'm going to have to use that term. So I do see that male landlords tend to be more comfortable with, okay, we're going to go through this process. Yes, it's going to be frustrating, but I need to step aside and let my attorney do their thing. Ladies want to help. So that's that whole collaboration, hunter-gatherer things. And as much as we need our female friends to join us when we go pick berries, when we're doing evictions, we don't need help. Actually, quite to the contrary. If we're then busy with an eviction and suddenly our client sends an email to the tenant trying to negotiate or settle on the side, it usually throws off our entire process completely, where we have to step into a conversation with our client and say, please don't help us. Please just leave us to do what we're doing. It is unfortunately definitely a male-female thing. I must say, for the male landlords that wants to help on a whole new problem level. They do funny things, like they will rock up and try and help the tenant move, the non-paying tenant move with, for instance, a baseball bat. That's also not really helpful, and that also makes it a bit more difficult for us. So you get ladies, obviously, because personality type, there isn't just like two personality types, male and female. Females differ and males differ. It's the way it is. But unfortunately, when our female clients get emotionally charged and they want to help, unfortunately, they start sending emails. The guys luckily just mess up and turn the electricity off or something like that, which we can turn back on and carry on. Unfortunately, the ladies hop onto WhatsApp or email.
So males tend to kick doors and email. Women send emails, eh?
Yes, heavily emotionally filled emails with clear wording. Like, I've never seen an email from a worked up landlord that doesn't contain clear communication about how they feel about this particular illegal occupant.
I can imagine so. I think, yeah, it's one of the most painful points of being a landlord, and I think it's very important that our viewers and our listeners know that these things can happen, and especially as a female, sometimes it can be quite scary to know that someone's staying in your property illegally, and have to go through this whole process to get them out. But I think with the attorneys like yourself, Cilna, on their side, they can only come through it a lot stronger. What I would like to know is, in terms of the property and law industries, what would you think would need to change for the betterment of women empowerment?
That's a gorgeous question. And before I get to that, I just quickly want to say the other difference between male and female landlords. Ladies tend to run their numbers 3 more times, which means they have less evictions than the guys. So I'm just saying they usually are, as much as I said, they're a bit more over the top when it comes to evictions. Before that time, they tend to be very diligent. So I just had to throw that one in there before I answer this one. But
guys,
sorry?
Saying ladies do their homework. The guys,
they really do. They really do. And ladies will usually not dive into something before they really know this is going to be a very good investment. So I like that. So what we need to change to better empower women is, I must say, I think it's the conversations we're having. I do believe it's conversations like this conversation where we can talk about this, and especially women in the industry that need to get the message across that, ladies, don't fear entering into this industry because you are scared it's a male dominant industry. Don't stress about that. Don't think about yourself as a woman. Firstly, you're not a woman. Firstly, you're a human being. Secondly, it seems like you want to be a property investor. Somewhere number 3 or 4 down the line, you might also be a woman. But I think that's one of the biggest things, because I obviously have a very close relationship with Michelle Dickens, the MD of TPN. Michelle is one of the leading ladies in the industry. And when we have these conversations during August, we always say, oh goodness, it's Women's Month and we're going to do a lot of interviews this month. How are we on this one? Because the truth is, there are only a handful of ladies in the property industry that are regularly doing conversations like this, doing interviews like this. And for Michelle and I, and Michelle, if whenever you watch this at a later stage, I'm sorry I'm pulling you into the conversation, but our conversation usually goes around, we don't notice that there's any difference between male and female. The truth is, we get away with a lot of things that men wouldn't. The truth is, if you are, the fact that you are a lady already puts everybody at ease. And I do believe that's one of our most powerful skills we have. I can walk into a negotiation and the male counterparts around the table wouldn't expect that I can actually pack a pretty decent punch in my negotiations and in my arguments. So I'm already 3 steps ahead of any guy walking into a room. And I think this is the only thing you need to empower women, is women. Women need to realize, ladies, we have power that you will not believe. The truth is, yes, way back when there were legislation and stuff limiting us, there is nothing that limits you from really playing your own game and coming out on top of your own game. The biggest thing we need to empower women in the industry is to stop comparing ourselves to each other, not women to women, not women to men, not me to you guys. If I have to compare what I'm doing to your business, I mean, who is even winning? It doesn't make sense. There's no comparison that can be drawn. Even if I compare myself to my male competitors, so poor Bruno is obviously being used quite a lot tonight, but if I compare myself to Bruno Smau, there is nothing that's even remotely similar about our businesses, about what we do, about our goals and wants in life. Yes, we both do evictions, cool. There's one thing. And I think that is what women needs to be empowered. I think women need to get to a place where you believe in yourself without comparing yourself to anyone else, not another woman and not to a man. And realize that you don't need a leg up in life. You already have skills and little cheat codes in life. You can smile in a negotiation and drop your purchase price with 50,000 Rand, ladies. Understand that you have that power that a guy doesn't have. So I think I don't mean to downplay a lot of the hardship that women went through, but I think the biggest thing that we need to understand is that we already there. We already have a lot of power. But if we accidentally now miss the positioning again and swap the roles, where we drop men in a position where we were, then it's going to take another 150 years just to fix that. So let's just all focus on playing our own game to the best of our ability.
I think it's amazing to hear all your views, Cilna, and I think, yeah, definitely right. It's people need to go through that mindset change and see yourself for a person rather than a gender, and that there's anything holding you back from achieving exactly what you want to achieve. And I think Matt and I were having a conversation earlier today where he was saying that if you're gonna, think, I don't know, small numbers, you might as well think big numbers. If you're going to be ridiculous, there's no difference between being slightly ridiculous and incredibly ridiculous. So never doubt yourself and always believe in yourself and push forward and know that, you're unique in your own way and you have every opportunity nowadays to achieve anything that you want to achieve. And there's definitely lots of programs out there. I know you got Women in Property. That's quite a big organization that is trying to empower women as well. And there's people out there like yourself who's trying to change the whole stigma behind everything as well. Matt, I don't know if you have anything else to say.
Yeah, no, I think you've summed it up well, Shane. And I think basically what Cilna's saying is, as a lady, be your own shining star. You don't have to shine brighter or be more dull than anyone else around you. Be your own shining star. And I think that's something that's really inspirational. For me. What I would like to just steer the conversation towards, Cilna, is obviously here at Kuro, we offer investors to partner on some of our projects. They can invest in the projects that we're doing. And what I've started seeing, especially in the last year or so, is we're starting to get a lot of female investors that are coming on board and investing in our projects, and it's really encouraging to see. And I want to see more females investing with us and investing in property in general. But what would be your advice to females who are starting to invest in property?
So my advice would definitely be get the right education, get to the right places. The truth is, if you start with something simple and free, like watch the webinars you guys are hosting, watch the free webinars we are hosting on the Property Law Alliance, follow what's happening on TPN's page, get into the industry, get to understand the players in the industry, and then build relationships, because the power you have, again, as a lady, is building relationships is in your DNA.
Yeah.
You were designed to build a relationship so close with a random stranger that you would be willing to sacrifice your life for that little thing that you gave life to 2 seconds ago. You don't know this person from a bar of soap, and within a second, you will sacrifice your life for that human. We were designed, it's in our DNA to build relationships. Use that skill. You have that in you. That's what you're designed to do. And that's all of us. And use that. Know the people in the street, build your network. And then from your network, start getting into the training, start understanding who are the best people to get training from, because training is not created equal, let's be fair. Get training 100%. From the right people and from people you trust. Don't spend thousands of rands on courses that's promising the world to you. Get to a point where you know the people in the industry and ask the right people the right questions. And if you mess up on the questions, don't stress. If you ask the right person the wrong question, they will tell you it's the wrong question and give you the right question with the right answer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so essentially is jump in, don't be afraid to start, use the free resources that are around you, and, approach those that are, busy doing what you want to do in property, and try and network with them and get the most out of them. I think that's a winning formula. Wouldn't you agree, Shane?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And yeah, with the right education, with the right people behind you, you can achieve anything that you want to achieve. And, it's not a male game, it's to all of us.
No, most definitely, most definitely. See, we are running short of time, so let's maybe move on. I want to know a bit more about, and I'm sure our viewers do too, about the book that you wrote, Cilna. Obviously, we've established you as the eviction expert, but tell us a bit more about what people can get out from reading your book.
So unfortunately, I'm definitely not printing more of those. That was the Landlord's Guide that I published in 2015. It's been real, and I think it was a very handy guide. I think I still have stock of about 20 or so copies, which people can order from SSLR's website. I'm not printing anymore, and the reason for that is I've started doing a lot more training sessions online, and I am actually working on another book. Now I'm on 155 pages, and the truth is I think I'm going to hit Control A, delete, because I started writing that in 2016, and there's, I suppose, some valuable information in there, but I think I can reach the industry on a much better, easier way. So I'm actually working on something that's more like basically a little book of articles that I wrote. So little snippets, so you don't have to read a whole book. Nobody has time to read 155 pages, but you can quickly read a 650-word article in the evening before you go to bed. So I think I'm working on something else, and now I just gave that away, and while it was still an idea, and apparently now I accidentally committed to something.
You committed.
I did publicly. So I think I'm going to work on something like that, which is easier to read. The Landlord's Guide is still available, definitely not doing more copies, not because there was anything wrong with it. I just feel like the things I've learned in the past 5 years, I've grown so much that I don't want to stick to the knowledge I had 5 years ago. In fairness, I've only been specializing in evictions for 12 years. So 5 years in 12, only 12. But I think I know a bit more now than what I did in 2015. So it's still a valuable book to get your hands on. But I do believe 2021, I'll put out something new and pretty funky and true to my nature, non-conformist in every single sense of the word.
Now, I think that's so awesome how you're pushing the whole digital front as well. And rather than having one large book that's been developed over 5 years, by the time you start reading it, is that information old? Is it still relevant? We're moving so fast. I do think, these small little articles available to anyone who can easily read it just before bed will definitely empower a lot more people.
I'm glad you said that. Okay, Shane, done. Now I'm going to have to write that.
Looking forward to it in the non-conventional way, like you say, Cilna. I see we are running out of time, but I did want to pull a few questions from everyone that's watching. So I'll just pull a very interesting question that I've seen here. Cilna, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? I mean, you've had such a wonderful career up to now. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? That's one of the questions that have come through.
Oh, I like that question. That's a gorgeous question. I can tell you exactly all the way up to when I'm 120 where I see myself. So yes, I'm going for 120. So I'm only starting now. The next 5 years, I definitely want to change not just the way we practice law, but actually core law as well. I think you guys have seen I'm very passionate about the legal principle of Ubuntu.
Yes.
And bringing that into the property sphere. I am super excited about the lockdown level 2 regulations, specifically around evictions, placing this kind of emphasis on Ubuntu, not in the word, but in the essence. And that is fantastic. That is what I want to see. I would like to see some very definite legislative changes in the property industry, the way we do evictions, when it comes to a non-paying tenant or a purchaser that, for instance, on an installment sale agreement defaulted, or a seller that doesn't vacate. So not your typical seriously homeless and destitute person. So in the next 5 years, I'm going to be pretty busy. I'm moving towards a lot of change. I'm an entrepreneur to my very core. I had my own business when I was 5, and I will always be an entrepreneur. And for me, being an entrepreneur doesn't mean making a quick buck. I honestly don't care too much about making money. Really, I know that sounds weird. You have to eat, but making money is irrelevant for me. Changing the way the world works and changing the way the South African property industry operates is what I'm doing. So I do believe in the next 5 years, that is what I'll be doing. Obviously, growing SSLR. The ladies in the team really helps to free up my hands to do other cool things. So that's where I see myself in 5 years, looking back and being proud of what I've achieved and how many people's lives I've changed and touched in the 5 years between now and then.
That's
I
awesome.
think that's fantastic. And I think, not just women, but everyone out there can take, a leaf out of your book when you say, being an entrepreneur and, being a property investor or a landlord. It's not really about making money, but it's about, making a difference in people's lives. And that's really what, your true, cause should be when you're pursuing things in life. And I think that, when you think like that, it really makes the world of difference. And I feel that actually is one of the differentiating factors between, those people that are successful and those that are less so. So for me, I think that, that was really a point that was hammered home quite well. Shane, what did you think?
No, definitely. Fully agree. Hey, and I definitely see there's an awesome inspiration there. And I think I do look forward to the 5 year time. I'm sure we'll have another conversation at that point and see how well you've done. And if not, I'm sure Matt and I will be there to challenge you to work doubles on the next 5 years.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. And I wonder in 5 years, if we have a Women's Month interview, if I will be a little more feministic or not. I doubt it, though. I'm sorry. You guys will never get the feminist out of me.
We won't bring you on the next one, shall we?
No, I think that you are who you are to your core, and I think a lot of ladies out there should follow suit and follow who they are, and use their own personalities to drive themselves and achieve success in life. Before we finish up, I just wanted to let everyone know about some of Kuro's investment opportunities that some of our female partners can take up, or anyone really, not just our females, but like I said, we are seeing a lot of female investors, join in on our projects, and which is very, very exciting as we discussed. But we've got 3 projects available for investment at present. We've got our multi-let in Fontainebleau, where we've already started construction. So there's not much of an opportunity left to invest in there. So if you do want to invest in this project, you can get returns up to 17.5%. So take it before it goes. We've also got a project upcoming in Florida Hills. Shane, what's happening in Florida Hills? What are we doing there?
I think Florida Hills is going to be one of the most amazing flips that we've done to date. It's definitely going to wow a lot of people, and it's going to be inspiring for a lot of people to also take up the change and get involved as well. I think we'll try to show as many people as well that you can empower yourself and do what we're doing, and make a big impact to the community as a whole.
Most definitely. And then lastly, we have a project in Robindale. I think it's one of the most exciting projects that we're going to be undertaking. It's a lovely area, really distressed property. We're going to be turning that into a multi-let. You can get returns of up to 20% if you partner with us on that project. So again, if you want to see what we've done or see more information on the upcoming projects, head to our website, www.kuro.co.za, click on the Invest tab, and you'll see all of the investments listed there that you can partake in. You can also see some of our past projects and see how we've tackled those and use that as a basis to see how we're going to tackle these future projects that we're really, really excited for. I think we're going to take the last couple minutes just to thank Cilna. I think she's been an amazing guest, and I've personally taken a lot of inspiration from you tonight. And, you know, I'm a male, not a female at the end of the day, but like you said, we're all human beings, and it doesn't really matter, you know, what gender you are, but it's about who you are at your core, and, you know, going about, you know, helping people in the best way possible, and just believing in yourself. So I just want to thank you, Cilna, for being here tonight. It's truly been a real honor and a real pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you so much for your kind words, Matt and Shane. It's always an honor and a privilege to have a conversation with you guys. And it's amazing to see your journey and to follow what you guys are doing. Seriously, hats off. Every time I see your logo or anything from you guys, it does make me smile. I'm really super impressed with what you guys are doing. It's amazing, and it's like you guys just don't stop. You just go, and there's just another and another and another project, and I'm like, whoa, that is pretty amazing. And I think you guys in return inspire the industry, because Shane, I still remember the first time I met you at the property show, and I still believe I was drinking a glass of wine, and
Yes.
we had a conversation, and it was relatively recent. And I remember at the time you said, okay, cool, we're going to do this, it's going to be amazing. And you guys just took off without stopping, and it's really amazing to see what you guys are doing. So seriously, from my side, it's an honor to have had this conversation with you, but also hats off to you. I'm really impressed with what you guys are doing.
Thanks so much, Cilna. We really, really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks so much for inspiring us as well to push ourselves and, you know, answer any questions that we do ever have. And we'd highly recommend anyone, if they had any questions in mind in terms of property law, anything, or evictions, most definitely go to Cilna Steyn. You can find her at it's www.sslr.co.za.
That's it.
There we go. So I'd highly recommend anyone to go through there, have a look, and meet Cilna Steyn. She's an amazing person, and she's really, really helped a lot of people in the industry. And yeah, we're so thankful for having you on board and really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Lastly, I'd just like to thank everyone that tuned in today. I hope you found, you know, what Cilna had to say very inspirational, and I really hope that pushes you towards property stardom or law stardom, whatever you know, sector you're focused on. So thank you for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next month for next month's live stream. Shane, would you like to take us out?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned a little bit about Cilna Steyn and evictions and women in property. And yeah, we wish you all the best and have a wonderful time. And if any questions, feel free to contact Matt and myself, and we'll be happy to help. Cheers.
Off.
Yes,